Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Well, here's my game from round 4 of the 136th New York State Championship. I'm in the under 1500 section. So far I'm 2.5 out of 3. So here's my game 4, and I gotta say honestly, this is one of the most interesting games I've ever played in. I'm white. My opponent is black. It's Matthew Chalifour, I believe it's pronounced. I asked him if it was French-Canadian. He said just French. I mean, we're so close to the Canadian border. Anyway, let's get to it. It's going to be a Queen's Gambit declined. I played D4 this time. I'm going to try that. Sometimes I get in a jam, sometimes I don't. Knight, Bishop, E6, E3. Pretty much typical stuff. Knight, Knight F3, Bishop. It's got C takes D. I, for some reason, just wanted to get rid of that knight, and I did. The computer calls for C takes, and after E takes, Bishop D3. After Bishop takes, Knight takes, Queen B3, Queen A5. Now we're on move. We just finished move 8, and I got about a quarter point advantage. So, I mean, I'm really okay. I was a little nervous. He's a younger guy. Look about 15 years old or so, 15, 16. Some of these young guys, it's hard to tell how strong they are. Rook to C1. I'm looking at the computer here. I went over this game already, but it calls me for kicking the bishop, which I didn't do. It calls for kick the bishop here. I decided to go rook to C1. He castled. And I moved bishop to D3 to get ready to castle. He decided to take. Now you see that a lot. When I move the light-colored bishop, he goes to take, and then I have to take to retake again to waste the move. You see that quite often. B5, kicking the bishop. Bishop back to D3. Knight to D5. He's going after this square here that everybody's hitting on. Here. I just castle to get out of the pin. The bishop takes. I played pawn takes. He played A6. I played knight E5. That's a good spot for that knight. He's going to have to move his F pawn in order to chase it off, and I'm also attacking the C pawn. So he's got to move the bishop there. I go knight here. Now, computer likes C4, and now that I look at it, that is the correct move. After C4, he can't take, so I'll take here, and if he takes that, I'll just take back. So that's a good position for me. But I decided to go knight to D7 instead to hit the rook, and then when he moved the rook, I go knight to C5. Now that's a damn good spot for that knight. He's in a dark-colored square, and there isn't any pawns that can harass him. Queen to B6. Now I go C4, because he can't take because he loses the queen now. He moves the knight. I think he wants to move the knight back to here to get rid of that knight. But I decided to go A4 instead, hit the pawn again, and he went rook here. Right now I've got over almost a pawn and 3/4 advantage, so at this point I'm feeling pretty good. You know, when you sit down the edge of your chair and you're kind of leaned up and you can feel the adrenaline pumping, that's what I was feeling like right now. It was 2.5 for 3, and if I won this game, this would be the best result I've ever had, 3.5 out of 4. So I was pretty psyched at this point. It's not even close to being 1, of course, but I was pretty not confident, but I was pretty my adrenaline was really pumping at this point. And this is a mistake I made. I recognized it as soon as I made it. A5. I don't know why I did that. I know he can't take the pawn, of course, because the knight will take the bishop. Rook to C7. It wasn't a major mistake, but now it shows me going H3 or rook to C2 at this point. That's a really good knight. He's going to get chased off in a second. So I took the bishop. I probably shouldn't have, but I did. Computer's got me going rook to c2, and then queen to e7, and then f4. Now, what he decided to do was, excuse me, go the in-between move. He went knight to g4. And what that does is, it threatens mate here. Rook after d1, it says, is the top move. I don't know why, because I wouldn't give up that pawn, but the queen's out of action for him. And g3, and that's what I did, g3, to stop that. He took the knight. I went after the knight. Now, it says that wasn't a very good move by the computer. It likes rook to c2 again. It wants me to double up really badly on that file. And as you can see, this pawn is still pinned because of the queen. So I chased the knight. Knight f6. Bishop f3 was one of the top 3 moves. They're all close. Now I've got this pawn pinned. So this pawn is pinned and this pawn is pinned. And this is where he errs, according to the computer. It gives him a question mark. It seems like somewhat of a natural move until you look at it. And that's c7, queen to c7. It says queen to e7 and black can hope to survive. After queen to c7, of course, I take. Now you notice he can't retake because of the pin on to the queen. So a takes. Now bishop takes c6 is something that I missed. I went queen to b4. At this point, I'm pretty excited here. I got this passed pawn. I mean, it's a lot easier to play my position. He's all backed up. That late squared bishop is just a monster. That knight is worthless. If I had played bishop takes instead, queen takes pawn, rook to c5, it has... It's okay. I mean, that's all right. But queen to b4 I played, and he played knight to d5, hitting the queen. The bishop takes, and then e-pawn takes. Of course, you see he can't take with a c-pawn because of the rook on the queen. E takes. And I actually picked the computer move. Pretty happy with that. Rook to c2 and rook to c3 are both the same. I'm going rook to c3. Now I want to double up and gang up on this pawn. Rook to a8. Now he's hitting that pawn twice. Queen takes b5 was probably what I should have done. I decided to guard the pawn instead. After rook to a1. And this is where he errs again. And it seems like a natural move to make to stop the advance of the pawn. He goes rook to a6. And now almost a point and a half, a little under in score ahead. That backward c-pawn's a pain in the behind for him. And after he loses that pawn, that b and d pawn for him are going to be isolated. Let's see how this works out. I take the pawn, of course. Now, it's funny. The top 2 computer moves here at this point, and we all see, of course, why he can't take. Because this rook takes, and he's in trouble. Queen to c8 is one alternative for him. But one I didn't see is queen takes g3 check. And after I retake the queen, he takes my queen. Interesting. But anyway, he played c takes. So I played rook takes, and he played f6. Why, I don't know. He wanted to give his king some room, obviously, but I wouldn't have picked the f pawn, probably the g, because that rook on c7 is just holding him back. Now it's almost a 4-point advantage for me. I'm only a pawn up, but this position is really easy to play. Rook to c5, of course. Now I'm hitting his b pawn. And I'm pretty excited at this point. I mean, I'm 2.5 or 3 before this game. And if I win this, this is the best result I've ever had. Rook to b8 to guard it. I took the free pawn. He played b4, trying to get his pawn down. He's got king to f1 and rook to c5 as my 2 choices. I decided to go after the pawn. And he went rook to c6. I went rook to c5. Now the three choices on the computer, they're all very close in score. Now rook to c5 is going between 1 and 2 now. They're all about the same. Rook to c5. I'm really psyched now. He plays rook takes, pawn takes. Now, of course, I want to get rid of the rooks as soon as that b pawn goes. It's a 2.5 point advantage for me right now, and I'm feeling. I can just feel the adrenaline pumping. I'm up on the edge of my seat. My God, 3.5 out of 4 is the best result I've ever had. And I decided to. He went rook to b5, hitting both. I went a6. He took the pawn. I took the pawn. Now he goes rook to a5. Now this is the pain in the neck part. I say that because my rook isn't behind my passed pawn. So I've got to guard it a different way. It's a big pain in the neck. I got a 5-point advantage. I just got to find a way to get it together. Now, we're on move 38. Now, the time controls for this game were 40 moves in 110 minutes for each side. And I believe it was sudden death 30 minutes after that. So none of us are really in any time trouble. Rook to b6 to guard the pawn. Now the computer suggests that I should have checked first, and then when king moved, and after g6, I could probably move the pawn again. I kind of did it the same way. He went king to f7, I checked, king a7, and he checked me here. Now, this is a one position. One position. What to do, what to do. And I'm trying to catch my breath here. I moved my king. Now we're on move 42. We're on the second time control, so. In fact, we never even used up the original 110 minutes each on this. So I got up a couple of times and walked around. Catch your breath a little bit, clear your mind, and get back in the game. He plays rook to a4. Now you're going to see some real trickery here on his part, and it's my own fault, but it's very interesting what he did. And when he did it, I was so aggravated, I had to get up and walk away for a minute and come back. And I would have done the same thing. h4. I'm going to move my pawns up a little bit. I kind of had an idea where I can stop the king from going in here. Somehow develop a mating attack with the pawns because this rook is guarding the escape square. And I had that in my mind. I was no big rush. My pawn's on a7. That rook is stuck on the a file. I went h4. e4 might have been better. And the computer's right because the rook can't take the pawn on e4 or I queen. And sometimes you just get so excited you just don't think of all the little things. He went king to h6. I went king to h3. I'm slowly creeping up, but I'm going to make him run out of room here. And e4 again probably would have been a better move. He went g6. So I'm thinking, okay. It's almost an 8-point advantage for me now. And I went g4. Now there goes his escape squares. They're gone. He went rook to a3. What else can he do? He can't move his king now. His king cannot move. I went king to g3. I'm coming back around. I'm thinking things down the road like somehow this pawn to get here and then check, takes, check. And then when the king goes here, mate. I'm trying to develop a mating net now. He goes rook to a4. And I go f4. Here it comes. He goes g5. And he had a little trick coming up here. I'll show you in a minute. I played h takes. But to be honest with you, the computer likes h5, and I do too now that I look at it. Because even after pawn takes, rook can't take. I'll queen. And I know he can't move the rook. But I'm so fixated in trying to get him in a mating net. I had forgotten that I couldn't push the E and F pawns with nothing bad could happen to the pawns. They can't be taken. The rook is frozen. And so, a lesson to be learned from that. I played H takes, F takes. Now the computer likes king to F3, and that's probably what I should have done. And I went F5 without thinking. Now I want you to picture this now. My advantage went from almost 8 points to 2 3/4 immediately. I lost 6 points with F5. And can you see why? There's a trick right here. Now stop the video now and see if you can find the trick for black. And it almost cost me. Stop the video now. The move that black made, and he saw it, and I give him credit for this. I was so hell-bent in developing a mating net and trapping his king, I trapped him too good. He played rook takes A7. I take that rook, it's stalemate. I'm like, I was so upset. My face, I could feel it go flush. I was so upset. And he looked up at me, and I gave him a dirty look like, yeah, you little snot, you know. He wasn't. I would have done the same thing. I'm thinking, oh, what? This can't be happening. So I go rook to B3, and then he goes rook to B7. And I mumbled to myself, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. He's going to steal a draw out of this. So I took a couple of deep breaths, looked at position, and rook to D3 for me. Now when he challenges my rook, I go to D4. And it's not stalemate anymore. I'll have a pass pawn if he takes on the D file. Of course, he can't take. Now this is one thing I didn't see as well. I should have played rook to D6 check, forcing the king to go here, and then pawn checks. Winning the rook, and that would have been the end of the game, and I missed it. A clear win, and that's not that hard to see. We're on move 52, and I'm pretty tired. Between being tired and the adrenaline pumping, it's a weird mix. I played the safe route. I'm just going to creep along here and go E4. That was a clear win that I missed. He goes king to G7. King F3, guarding the E pawn so I can move the rook. King to F7. And he must have saw that he can't go king here, because after I check, he comes back. It's just not good. After king to F7, rook to D3. Now I want to get the rook behind the pawn. King F6. King E3. I decided to go this way instead. I'm going to put the rook here. At this point, I'm just struggling trying to figure out how to do it. I know I can win this. I just got to figure out how to do it. And he goes H5. I play G takes. He plays rook H7. Now, after I looked at this a little bit, I thought to myself, okay, he wants to do that way, huh? I thought, well, maybe I can move king here. King here, he's just going to check me, and I'm going to lose this pawn. So I'll probably end up going king here, king here. I said, wait a minute. What's the one thing I want to do so badly right now? I want to trade rooks. So I go H6. Now, if he takes the pawn, if he plays rook takes H6, rook to D6 check, king E5, or king has to go back to here, and he loses. So he goes king E5. I'm so excited now. I check him. He has to go to f6. I check him again. Got to protect that pawn. He probably thinks he's safe right here, but he has to go back. And what he does, he plays rook to e5, figuring he can finagle it that way. But what he didn't see was rook to e6 mate. And the game was over. I shook his hand. I was so happy. 3.5 out of 4. My best result so far ever in any of the tournaments that I played in, especially in the New York State Championship, the under 1500 section. I had a big sigh of relief. A lot of lessons to be learned from this game. When I had the check where I could have won the rook for free, I missed that. I missed the rook takes a7, almost stalemating him. So you got to be careful, because your opponent, when he's down, when you've got him, he is struggling and he is looking so hard to find something to save him. And you let up a little bit because you know you're winning. And I've said this 100 times in life as well as chess, both, which is a lot of the same. When you're winning and you know you're winning, it's the most dangerous time. Anyway, folks, that was one of the most exciting games I've ever played in. There was a lot at stake for me. 3.5 out of 4. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something from it as well. I was pretty pumped up at this point, so I'm not sure when I'll get up game 5, but that'll be coming soon. And you can see how I did in that game. Anyway, folks, I also want to mention I've got many new subscribers the last few weeks. Thank you very, very much. I personally appreciate it. And I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.